You don't need coins to save in this game, which is really nice. Again, you can save at any time on the main menu, so you don't need to pay Wrinkly Kong to get your saves. I was, during this first live session, after a little bit, I was kind of rushing through, I wanted to get to, there's a particular part not too far in, towards the end of the first world that I just wanted Nick to see, because I thought, well, that's, like, the most interesting new thing in the game that I think might be cool to show, and it's okay. It was not really as exciting as I'd thought. Because, again, I was really drunk on the emotional high of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. Really good game. Much better than this. We have here the rope climbing. You know, we've got all these, the ropes. I don't like moving on the ropes in this game. Like, going side to side on the ropes just feels really rough. Like, it's extremely slow. By the way, here I had forgotten to grab that gold feather off to the side. Anytime you see a crossfade like that, that is, whoops, I missed something, I went back to grab it later. Here's the run where I went back to grab it to just have it in here, rather than showing like a full run of the level each time I missed something. Just to streamline this, make it a little easier to watch. So, we got nice little secrets all over the place. That's something kind of nice to have. It's for the early levels. They don't continue doing that in the later levels, because in the later levels, your prizes are individual bananas, or a coin, or progress. And, they just kind of stop giving you nice things for exploring levels later on. But, again, just early on, things are good. This hangs on this screen for a while because at this point I had to bring up the fact that just looking at this scene here, Diddy and Dixie are literally trying to tear this poor Kremling limb from limb. They're just trying to rip his arm and leg off. Like, I cannot see any other way to interpret this picture. Like, they are just pulling on him, pressing down on his head, pulling up on his arm. They want to just shred a man asunder. So, yeah. There's, Kongs are fucked up. They're fucked up murderers, and especially Diddy. Diddy, and probably also Dixie. Like, Diddy was the one who was really chomping at the bit in that opening cutscene. Like, we have to go right now. We gotta go. You know, this was, something that we had, postulated back in our first well, not in our first run through. It was like one of the recaps we reevaluated and postulated that, like, Diddy is kind of going, like, he's really gung-ho here because he wants to prove himself. You know, he's DK's lil buddy. In the first Donkey Kong Country, like, he was supposed to guard the bananas, and the Kremlings beat him up and stuffed him in a barrel, and he failed to guard the bananas, and he probably had, like, an inferiority complex from that the whole time, and now he really needs to, you know, DK got kidnapped, so we really gotta go save him. He's just gotta go all out, all in, just get, you know, wipe out the Kremlings. They slighted the Kong family. They need to die. They all need to be destroyed, and we need to go save DK. Everybody needs to go right now. The whole family. The patriarch is taken. So, over here's Cranky. You may notice, if you remember how this place looked the first time back in the original version of this game, there's a couple of differences here. In the original Donkey Kong Country 2, Winky the Frog was stuffed and mounted on the wall. Here, we don't have that. We instead have a non-giant-sized frog in a little terrarium in the background. We also have a tiny ostrich. And here we've got, it explains here, with my newly acquired wealth from Donkey Kong Country, I bought a bird. With your help, I'm sure we can turn him into a champion racing bird. So, we're going to make a racing bird. A racing ostrich, and we need to make him stronger because he's just a little tiny thing. And that's what those golden feathers are for. There's a golden feather on every level. Each one you collect can be traded in, and also Cranky gives you one for free the first time that you ask about the racing. You need at least 4 feathers before you can start a race. And so I just kind of left, and we're going to cut over to when I came back and actually had the feathers to do the thing and the coins to buy all of this, these hints here. Came back later. I see I have feathers from, like, the entire first world. I had enough coins to just buy all of the little hints. The hints that Cranky gives are, for the most part, really solid. They're very good at, you know... There's a lot of, like, kind of... I guess, like, kind of being cute language. Kind of, like, saying, like, oh, okay, at the first world, they're pretty straightforward. Like, do this at this place. Jump when you're crossing a long rope. Below the K, there's a reward. You know, very, very straightforward. Later on, things get a bit more, like, you know, being more obtuse about it, but still giving you a hint that if you read between the lines is pretty useful. So, here Cranky names this bird Espresso. We already had Espresso in Donkey Kong Country 1, so I have to... I feel like I have to speculate here that... We have previously speculated that, like, there isn't one of each of the animal companions. There's not one Squawks. There's not one Rambi. Because we see them, like, multiple places. We turn into them, we ride them, and then, like, make them become extra lives and collect them. And so I think that they have, like, a stock set of names that they give to the animals of these types that are willing to serve them faithfully. So, like, every rhinoceros that will serve the Kong family faithfully is Rambi. Every ostrich that will serve them faithfully is Espresso, you know, and so on. So here we have 4 different stats for our racing bird. Strength, speed, flight, and boost. Strength is basically your ability to push around the other competitors in your race, because there's 3 other birds that you're racing against. And whenever the 2 birds bump into each other, whichever one has the higher strength will be able to push the other and keep moving. Whereas if you have lower strength, then, like, it'll basically act like a wall, stopping you. Speed is your movement speed. It's how fast you run. Higher speed makes it better to win the race. Flight and boost are kind of weird and kind of bad. So each of those stats has a pickup on the field associated with them. Flight has the feather pickups, and boost has those little grain pickups. You cannot pick those up unless you have at least 1 point in those stats. So you can't pick up a feather unless you have at least 1 flight. You can't pick up grain unless you have at least 1 boost. When you pick them up, the feather, you can expend a feather to double jump. These feathers, by the way, are completely unrelated to the gold feathers that you pick up in the main game to actually power up Espresso. These are just power-ups for the race. So yeah, when you have a feather, you can double jump, which in certain races is very useful. It lets you get over, like, some gaps, and I guess kind of gives you, like, an extra little boost of speed, sort of. The green gives you a big speed boost. You've got, like, these dash pads on the ground, and the green is effectively, you can press R to activate a boost that is equivalent to one of those dash pads by spending 1 green that you've picked up. And your flight and boost stats determine how many of each of those pickups you can accumulate in your inventory. Most of the time, there is no reason to have more than 1. There is never a reason to have more than, like, 2. It is physically impossible, I think, on any race to ever accumulate 10 of either power-up, so leveling those stats up beyond 2 is just pointless. If I knew then at the start what I know now, I would have put 1 point into each of those and then just leveled strength and speed all the way, and that would have been it. That's, I think, how you should do it. But I did not know and tried to balance things out, and it gave me a little bit of trouble later on. Here at the opening of Gankplank Galley, I was certain, like, I remembered there was something in this level at the start that you have to throw to grab the thing. And I wound up accidentally finding the level warp barrel here. And at the time when I was just doing the live session with Nick, I was like, alright, I'm just going to move on. I'm just trying to get forward to the part that I want to show. So I had to come back later on my own to actually play the stage and find all of the things in the stage rather than skipping over it entirely. So here's that. Let's actually play the stage. And again, right at the start there, I was entirely certain that there was something there, but I kept trying to find it, and I kept accidentally hitting, like, the bonus barrel or the warp barrel, and you have to go, like, really off to the side to grab onto one of these hooks and get the hero medal. So that's one that's, like, it's not really it's not, like, particularly well hidden. It's just a pain in the ass to actually reach because there's a warp barrel kind of blocking your way. And I'm not sure if that's something that, like, if they changed the dimensions of some of the levels because they're on the Game Boy Advance, which has much lower resolution, or if it was always like that, and I just didn't remember it being that finicky, but it's annoying. Speaking of, by the way, this game has the same problem that I've complained about for every one of these portable remakes and ports of any game in this series, which is that the portable consoles have a much lower resolution than the original consoles that these games and levels were designed for, so you can see a lot less of the level than was originally intended for, you know, when the game was first made and designed, which causes a lot of problems in certain areas where it's like, oh, I'm moving forward, and there's something that is right below me that is just below the screen that wouldn't have been just below the screen on the original version of the game, but the camera doesn't display the whole thing in this version of the game, so I can't see this thing, and it screws me. And there's a fair bit of that in this game. There's about as much of that in this game as there has been in all of the remakes where I've had that complaint, which is all of the remakes. And I feel like they did not do as much in this to mitigate that as other remakes have done. And what other remakes have done has always never been particularly sufficient, so another common complaint problem that I've had with these things. So yeah, that was this stage. There's a couple of coins in the back there if you really want some extra coins. There's one spot a bit later on that's a really great spot for just farming a whole bunch of coins that I'll show you. I'll mention when we get to it in the second world.